At our office team building event, my boss patted me on the shoulder and said loudly, "She tries hard, bless her heart, but some people just aren't leadership material." Everyone chuckled as my stomach twisted. 3 months later, when he was fired for fraud, guess who corporate promoted to replace him? I work in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for a logistics company that handles everything from freight tracking to warehousing for mid-sized companies. It's not glamorous work, but it's honest, steady, and pays well if you keep your head down and stay sharp. I've been with this company for 5 years. I'm not the loudest in the room, I don't throw my weight around, and I don't care much for sucking up to management. I just make sure my team meets its goals, budgets stay in check, and clients are satisfied. But my boss, Jim? He was the complete opposite. Jim's the kind of guy who walks into a room like he's waiting for applause. Slick back hair, teeth too white for someone his age, always in some overpriced suit that didn't fit right. He used words like synergy and optics and used them wrong half the time. He had no idea how to manage people, but he knew how to make himself look important, at least to the folks above him. To his face, people called him Big Picture Jim. Behind his back, we called him PowerPoint Jim because all he ever did was talk while someone else actually did the work. That someone was usually me or one of the other project managers. But what made Jim dangerous wasn't his laziness, it was how quick he was to throw anyone under the bus the second it looked like something might go wrong. And then came the team building event. Corporate rented out this local conference center, decorated it with inspirational posters, and brought in a bunch of consultants with matching polos and fake energy. It was a full-day event. Role-play games, trust exercises, breakout groups. All of it pointless. I went because attendance was mandatory. No one was expecting to actually learn anything. We were all just killing time until the catered lunch. Halfway through the day, we were broken into small groups and told to come up with a fake product pitch. Just a silly little exercise to practice collaboration under pressure. My group actually did pretty well. I kept things moving, helped delegate tasks, and even volunteered to give our group's little presentation at the end. So I stood up, talked for 2 minutes, kept it clear, light, and moved things along. Nothing fancy, but I was proud of it. It wasn't some major life moment, but for once, I didn't feel invisible. And then Jim walked up behind me. He gave me this little pat on the shoulder. And with a chuckle, he said loud enough for the whole room to hear, "She tries hard, bless her heart, but some people just aren't leadership material." A few people laughed. Not everyone, but enough. I felt my stomach twist. I nodded, smiled, and sat down. My face was burning. The room felt 10 degrees hotter. I didn't say a word. I didn't storm out. I didn't confront him. I didn't cry. But that was the moment I decided I was done staying in the background. What Jim didn't know was that 2 months earlier, I'd found something. Something bad. It happened by accident. I was helping a junior analyst reconcile vendor payments. A few invoices looked off. Same vendor name, but 2 different EINs. One had consistent payment records. The other? Sporadic payments, weird amounts, and no listed services. I flagged it quietly and asked for supporting documents. When I didn't get them, I dug deeper. Used an old password Jim gave me once when I needed to pull a client list from his drive. It still worked. And there it was. Fake invoices. Dummy vendor accounts. All routed to a P.O. box in Bixby. The name on the payments? WJW Holdings. I looked it up, Jim's initials. WJW Holdings didn't exist in any business registry, but the bank account listed on one of the payment remittances matched a personal savings account Jim once used to reimburse an overcharged flight ticket from accounting. I made copies. Everything. Saved it on a flash drive. Stashed it at home. Didn't tell anyone. Yet. Because I knew Jim. If I reported him right away, he'd find a way to pin it on someone else. Say it was a mistake. Blame the intern. And I'd still be the woman he laughed at in front of the whole team. So I waited. I didn't tell anyone what I found. Not even my closest friend at work, Janice, who I usually vented to about everything. This wasn't gossip. This was strategy. Jim humiliated me publicly, and I was going to take him down, but I needed it to stick. If I jumped too soon, he'd wiggle out. He always did. And he'd take me down with him if he had the chance. So I waited. And I watched. Over the next few weeks, I noticed something. Jim started acting jumpy. He'd pull me into last-minute meetings and ask questions he already knew the answers to, like he was trying to catch me in a mistake. He made a big show of praising other people on my team while quietly reassigning some of my responsibilities to newer employees. Subtle, but noticeable. And then, one day, he brought me into his office, closed the door, and said this. "I've been thinking, you've been stretched pretty thin. I think it might be time for you to take a more supportive role. Let some of the newer folks lead." Supportive role. Like I was his damn secretary. That night, I went home and opened the folder I'd labeled JW Red Flag on my flash drive. It was time, but I didn't go to HR. I went higher. Our company's parent organization is based in Chicago. There's a compliance officer named Nora who I'd only ever emailed with once, years ago. I sent her everything. The invoices, the payments, the overlapping vendor data, even screenshots of internal emails where Jim pushed to approve the payments despite questions from accounting. She replied in less than an hour, asked me to keep quiet, said she'd be flying down within the week. When Nora showed up, she didn't go straight to Jim's office. She met with legal, then the head of regional operations, then quietly pulled me into a room. She had folders, printouts, my flash drive. She asked if I'd be willing to give a formal statement. I did. 3 days later, Jim was called into a closed-door meeting. He didn't come out for 3 hours. When he finally walked out, his face was white, and he was holding a cardboard box. No announcement, no email, just gone. The next day, we all got a corporate-wide message that our office would be transitioning leadership and that new leadership would be announced soon. People were buzzing. Everyone knew something went down, but no one had the details. Not yet. But here's the twist. I didn't get promoted right away. The company brought in a guy from Dallas, Carl, to stabilize the branch. Carl was fine. Nice enough. But he didn't know our team, and frankly, he didn't care. He treated it like a pit stop. He was temporary, just like they said. But while Carl was busy shaking hands and sending out generic memos, I was doing something else. I was winning over the staff. Quietly, day by day, people were confused, nervous. I was the one who helped them. I was the one who reassured the project leads, explained deadlines to clients, and made sure we didn't miss a beat. When Carl left 3 months later, no one else made sense to replace him. And this time, the decision came straight from Chicago. 3 months after Jim was escorted out, I got the official word. Nora from compliance called me personally. She didn't dance around it. She said, "We'd like you to step into the branch leadership role, effective immediately. You've earned it." No ceremony, no town hall meeting, just a clean promotion. And it was exactly how I wanted it. Quiet, controlled, and absolute. When the announcement went out, there were a few surprised faces in the office. Some folks still whispered about what happened to Jim. No one had the full story, just rumors. Embezzlement, misuse of funds, office politics. I didn't say a word, just kept doing the job. But word travels, especially in a city like Tulsa. A month into my new role, I got a message on LinkedIn from Jim. His profile picture was gone. His job title now said consultant. He sent a short message, no hard feelings. "You played the game well. Maybe we can talk sometime." I didn't reply. But that wasn't the end. About a week later, Janice stopped by my office. She looked uncomfortable. "Hey," she said, closing the door behind her. "You might want to see this." She pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. It was from a happy hour some of the junior staff went to, at a bar downtown. In the background, Jim. He was sitting at the end of the bar with 2 of our newer hires, Nate and Shelley. I couldn't hear what they were saying, obviously, but from the way they were leaning in, it didn't look casual. Jim had that same smug look he always wore when he was trying to manipulate someone. I felt my stomach twist again. The next day, I checked Nate's calendar. He had a networking coffee scheduled on his Outlook with a vague name attached, JW Consultant Meeting. I pulled Shelley's chat logs from the company account. Sure enough, she'd been messaging with someone using a personal Gmail address. The name? wjwstrat@gmail.com. Jim was trying to worm his way back into the company, through my staff. So I set a trap. I invited Nate and Shelley into a meeting room the next morning. Nothing official, just a quick chat. I told them I was concerned about their performance lately and wanted to go over some of their project work. As we talked, I casually asked them about their career plans, where they saw themselves growing. Shelley cracked first. She mentioned an outside mentor who'd given her some advice about moving laterally into a different department. I kept my expression neutral. Then Nate, trying too hard to act relaxed, said, "Yeah, I mean, it's good to hear other perspectives sometimes, right?" I nodded. "Sure is. Just not from someone who stole from this company." Their faces dropped. Then I leaned forward and said, clearly, "Jim's done. And if either of you bring his name into this office again, or let him so much as buy you a drink, your careers here are over. You understand me?" They nodded. Fast. But Jim didn't stop. He started showing up at public industry events. Small ones. Local panels, logistics mixers, warehouse expos. He'd walk right past our booth or hang by the coffee station until someone recognized him. He was planting seeds, trying to look legitimate again. So I made a call to our legal department. I gave them the Gmail address he was using to contact employees. I shared the chat transcripts, the calendar invites, everything. They escalated it. Turns out, as part of his exit, Jim signed a non-compete and a non-solicitation agreement. Trying to recruit our staff? Direct violation. A cease and desist went out by the end of the week. Still, Jim wouldn't let it go. He found a way to get a temp job at a third-party freight audit company we used. They handled invoice verification, the same area he used to mess with. He was getting close to our books again. And that's when I made the hardest choice of all. I had to go public with what he'd done. I sat in my office staring at the ceiling. Jim had found another way back in. Through a vendor this time. It wasn't direct employment with us, but it was close enough to make my skin crawl. I called Nora again. She wasn't surprised. "He's slippery," she said. "But if you're ready to make this official, we can open up the full report. With your permission." It took me a long minute to answer. I wasn't scared of Jim. Not anymore. But I knew once this came out, everything would. Including how long I'd known. How I waited. How I played the game. I said yes. The next Monday, a company-wide email went out from corporate. It was titled, "Statement Regarding Former Branch Manager Jim Whitlow." Yeah, that was his full name. I held on to it until now. It laid everything out. The fake vendors. The fraud. The compliance breach. His attempted reentry. The fact that he violated both his exit contract and company policy by contacting employees. They didn't name me directly, but it was clear who turned him in. After that email, I started getting messages. Dozens of them. People from other branches. Old coworkers. Even folks I didn't know thanking me. One guy said, he tanked my promotion years ago. Glad someone finally got him. But it wasn't all praise. One reply came from the temp agency that staffed the audit company Jim had gotten into. They said he was no longer with them, but that he blamed me for slandering his name and ruining his life. That's when things got dark. 2 weeks later, I walked out to my car after work and found my windshield smashed. A brick sat on the hood with a note. "You didn't win. You cheated." I called the police. Filed a report. They couldn't prove it was him. No fingerprints. No cameras. Just a guess. HR offered me time off. I said no. Instead, I went to a lawyer. See, Jim breached his contract, but I had grounds too, for harassment and retaliation. My lawyer filed a cease and desist personally. Then we filed a restraining order. It was granted, but Jim still tried to play the victim. He started posting on LinkedIn about being unjustly blacklisted. Even posted a blog talking about corporate snakes who destroy good men to climb the ladder. So I wrote my own post. Not dramatic, not emotional, just facts. I listed the findings. I quoted the compliance report. I ended with, "Being quiet doesn't make you weak. Waiting doesn't mean you're not watching." It went viral inside our industry. Jim's last bridge burned. Publicly. Here's the part one didn't expect. About a month after all that, I was at a logistics conference in Dallas. I gave a talk about rebuilding team trust after toxic leadership. Afterward, a woman in her 60s walked up to me. She looked tired, nervous. Said she used to work for Jim years ago in another company, before mine. Said he'd pulled similar stunts back then, but no one listened to her. Her eyes watered when she said, "Thank you. He finally got what he deserved." And that's when it hit me. I didn't just get revenge for myself. I ended a cycle. But I wasn't perfect either. Waiting to report him? That was a risk. A selfish one. I could have lost everything if someone else got blamed or if Jim got wind of it sooner. I let my pride make that decision. If I'm honest, I didn't just want him gone. I wanted to humiliate him the way he humiliated me. And maybe I did. But I don't regret it. Sometimes, to stop a man like Jim, you have to play the long game. And when he pats your shoulder and tells the room you're not leadership material, you smile. You remember. And you make damn sure you're the one writing the next memo.